Good evening, everybody. The City Council regular meeting, June 17, 2025, at 5:30 has been called to order. Madam Secretary, may I get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Michaels,
Here.
Glenn Glover,
Present.
Place 2 Kobeck,
Present.
Place 4 Gary,
Here.
Place 5 Navarez.
Here.
Mayor Horton is absent. There is a quorum present.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're going to do our invitation and pledge of allegiance. Ask Councilman Navarez to lead us in our invitation, and I'll do the pledges. Pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. At this time, we're going to go into the public comments. The City of Kennedale welcomes comments from the public. Those wishing to speak may sign up prior to the meeting. Speakers may speak on topics, whether it's agenda or not. The Kennedale City Council cannot discuss or cannot act upon, discuss, or issue raised or any of the decisions at this time. Speakers under citizens' comments shall observe the 3-minute time limit. Inquired regulations matter not listed on the agenda may be referred to the staff for research or possible future action by a board. Ms. Secretary, do we have any?
Yes, sir. Marcel Terry.
Good evening, everyone. My comment this evening, is to request a change in the start time of the city council meeting. And I was looking at the construction time, and there have been times that I've taken 2 hours to get home or back to Kennedale from wherever I was in the city due to this construction. And this construction is going to be around for a while. So I was thinking that maybe we can get more participation in city council, and that is vital to the city growth if we do have more participation. If we were to change the time from 5:30 to a more convenient time. And that was my comment.
All right, thank you, sir.
Sarah Johnson.
There we are. All right, I'm Sarah Johnson, Cotton. I live at 221 Village Street, my childhood home. I've been here nearly all my life, except for when I got married for a little bit. And I just wanted to come and congratulate the incumbents for winning the race. Everybody worked hard together in the community to make it happen. It's not just me, but others. And it was worth the threats I got. So I wanted to make the comment that I think as city council people, they need their behaviors and how they present themselves and how they conduct themselves during an election needs to be addressed. I shouldn't got 4 reports on me from 4 different police for lies that were made up on me to try to have me arrested. I think it's pretty shameful that that person's not here tonight to face the consequences of what he did. We need to stop because everybody has a right to voice who they want to vote for. If you're doing something unethical in an election, you need to be called out for it. And that's what I did last year, and that's why I was signaled and targeted this year, because I spoke up. If you got something that you know that's unethical, you need to speak up. Don't be afraid. We need more people to vote. For my last thing is that we have a concert September 27th. This year it is Curtis Grimes. Holly apologizes, but she has a full schedule this year. So we are going to do it September 27th. I need your full support. We've got 2 supporters so far. They're paying for the band, so I don't have to pay for the band this year. So I want everybody to come out and have a good time. Let's make this a great event. It's a community event, just like the Christmas event. And we can have more events and do more community things and make our community stronger. Thank you.
There are no others signed up at this time.
Thank you. The next deal where we go into is presentations. Line A, recognizing the 2025 Municipal Clerk's Office of Achievements of Excellence Award to the City of Kennedale City Secretary's Office.
Good evening. My name is Alice Holloway. I am the City Secretary for the City of Joshua and a proud board member of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. It is both an honor and a privilege to stand here before you this evening to present a very special recognition on behalf of TMCA. Each year, TMCA presents an Achievement Excellence Award to cities that demonstrate outstanding performance by meeting 9 out of 12 firm standards. Standards that focus on transparency, ethical governance, and a continual commitment to professional development and service to the community. What makes this recognition truly meaningful is that while it's awarded to the City Secretary's office, it represents the combined effort of the entire organization, from elected officials to staff members in every department. This honor is a reflection of what happens when people work together with trust, respect, and a shared purpose. This award highlights what can be accomplished when the City Council and city staff work side by side, guided by the same mission: to serve the residents of the community with integrity, excellence, and care. I encourage you to continue building on this foundation, support one another, and lead with the understanding that most successful cities are built on strong leadership, shared values, and a united vision. Ms. Bobby Jo Taylor, City Council and staff, thank you for your leadership and demonstrating that each successful happens when people care enough to work together. And so, on behalf of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, I am proud to present the Achievement of Excellence Award to City Secretary Bobby Jo Taylor and the City of Kennedale.
Do what? All right. Next presentation is going to be a presentation of donations to the City Public Library by Thomas Energy for the summer reading program in the amount of $2,500 and to the market space in the amount of $10,000.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, City Manager, and to the award-winning City Secretary, Bobby Joe. We just want to say thank you for allowing us to come into your home and provide this gift to our library. One of Atmos Energy's pillars, of course, is to support education, in particular literacy. It's our goal to make sure that our babies, pre-K through kindergarten through third grade, are reading at grade level. And so for that reasons, we do a lot of support and work with our schools, our libraries and such. So this evening, we want to make sure that we acknowledge Mrs. Partridge over here. She reached out to me and we talked about some opportunities, and she told me the good things that are going on at the public library, and we want to be a part of it. And so for that reason, we want to present a check to the public library in amount of $12,500. Did I get that right? I got it right. Okay. I was missing some digits here earlier, so $12,500 to help support the Makerspace and the summer reading program at the library. And so with that donation, it's our hope that it does provide those needs that the city and the library need. All right? You don't get the real check.
I've always wanted to touch a really large check.
Well, don't go too far because I think you're coming back up again. Presentation of a donation to the City of Kennerdale Fire Department.
All right. So once again, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem and Council, another one of our pillars is to support our first responders. You may have observed from a time or two whenever there's a cut gas line by third-party companies, maybe mom and pop working on a fence or digging in a garden, they accidentally hit a gas line. Well, the first people to show up to those gas emergencies are fire and police. And so they make the area safe until we show up. And I'm proud to say that our response time to those emergencies average about 28 minutes. That's an Atmos Energy response. But until we get there, our fire department and our police officers are making that area safe, making sure that the homeowner is safe, those folks that are around the gas use atmosphere are taken care of and out of danger. So for that reason, we support and partner with our first responders as much as we possibly can. If that means cooking for them, bringing out a big grill cooking for them, or maybe supporting their Christmas program. And so again, we want to make sure that we give a donation this year to support the Kennerdale Fire Department, and the check is in my pocket this time. So this is to the Kennerdale Fire Department Professional Firefighters Association in the amount of $2,000.
The next presentation is going to be line D, presentation of the status update by Friesen Nichols for the Interceptor Sewer Line Project and the Little Road Extension Project.
So how do I get this to share? Oh, there it is. Good evening, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, city staff. I'm here to present on the wastewater improvement project. This project extends from the drag strip down here in the south of the city, and it extends all the way up to the I-20. This is a major interceptor for the city right now. It will be upsized from various sizes, but from a 15 to an 18, and then at the very end of it, where a lot of the flow enters into the Arlington system, 24 inches. This project has an original contract, which was approximately 10,000 linear feet. It's actually 9,400. We'll see that in a second. It starts at North Road and 3rd Street and continues along North Street. It crosses Dick Price onto Valley View Lane, crosses over at Business 287, and from there goes across country until it meets the the Arlington connection line right there. The benefits of this, the amended portion is the 5,000 feet that goes from the current drag strip, which I understand is potential development area. That goes through some forested area, goes right next to the park where there is the lake. It crosses the railroad and catches back up onto North Road, and it connects right up to the original contract there. This line will increase the system's capacity by expanding the pipe sizes. It will help to reduce inflow and infiltration due to the age of the line. Rehabbing that line will greatly help that. Now, it won't help all the other peripheral areas, but it does help. It does help make that big line there. And it also upgrades the aging infrastructure. So here you can see the original contracted area here. We're showing right up here. Can y'all see my cursor here? Is it showing up there? The line starts at 3rd Street and the original contracted improvement. It starts at 3rd Street and North Street, and it's going to be upsized to a 15-inch line. Currently, right now, there is an 8-inch and 6-inch that will become 8, 6, and 12, which will be combined into one 15-inch. And once it gets close to the 287 business road crossing, it upsizes from a 12 to an 18. And from the 18, once we get into what we call Basin C1, it upsizes to a 24-inch. This line will be a great improvement. The line is old and needs to be improved. The amended contract goes from 3rd Street, and as I mentioned, it moves south to the drag strip, to right north of the drag strip. So project schedule, anticipated project schedule. So 60% design will be submitted in the middle of August. We currently have on the original contract 30% design, and for the amended section, we have a conceptual strip map that we've spoken to the city about. And so those two items will be combined into 160% plans. 90% plans will be at the end of the year, mid-December, with final updated plans, signed and sealed 100% plans in January. The plan there is then to start advertisement in February in February in time to be able to award the city for the March council award meeting. From there, we expect a little bit of time to gather documents and construction to start in April of next year, and a 12-month construction cycle, so ending 1 year after that. So construction estimate. So the original contract is totaled up to 9,400, so just a little shy of 10,000 linear feet. That OPCC, that construction cost estimate, is right near $10 million. The amended contract amount is 5,750 linear feet, and that current estimate, which is a conceptual estimate, is 4.7 million. There's a total linear pipe feet of 15,250 and a total OPCC of 14.7 million. I'd like to caution that this is a conceptual 30% construction estimate, and we'll continue to refine that as we move forward in the 60, 90, and 100% design. Okay. I'll hand it over to Sydney. There you go, sir.
Well, yeah, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff. I just want to do an update on the Little School Road project. So we'll jump right into it. So yeah, I guess to do a quick project overview. So previously we developed an alignment study for the whole of Little School Road connection from Kennedale Parkway over to Dick Price. And yeah, so 4-lane divided section with sidewalk on both sides. And the next stage of this project was really to focus on specifically the phase 1 portion. So I'm not going to do too much of cursor use here. I'm going to try to use the color codes here. So to focus on this portion between Kennedale Parkway and New Hope Road, starting from east to west, we have a signalized intersection at Kennedale Parkway. And the next portion here in green is kind of that big proposed bridge crossing. Just to remind folks that to clear, this is going to be a grade separated crossing of the railroad track, and so trying to clear Union Pacific Railroad right of way. So 30-foot clearance, so it's getting pretty high up there. And then on the west side of that bridge, essentially we're kind of more gradual slope to tie back into existing ground. That purple section there, as you continue to the west there, is a proposed crossing of the Village Creek tributary. So we're talking bridge class culvert, 5, 10 by 6 culvert boxes there. And then lastly, it's kind of a discussion between doing a roundabout or a signalized intersection at New Hope Road. I know there's on north of Little School Road, north of Kennedale Parkway, there's existing roundabouts. So it's kind of that same vibe. As you come to New Hope Road, because this is just for phase 1, phase 2 from New Hope Road to Dick Price Road is going to be a later design. So you're looking at essentially a if you do a roundabout, a 3-leg roundabout for the intersection. Yeah, just to talk about project construction costs. So one, I guess to go back to the previous slide there, one modification we looked at to try to reduce some of this cost is looking at a narrow footprint for the bridge. So typically for a boulevard road like this, looking for a 16-foot wide median, we want to narrow that down to be a 4-foot median with a raised barricade to kind of narrow that footprint to get the cost bridge down. In addition to that is narrowing the sidewalks a bit to the 6-foot width to, again, lower that footprint of the bridge. And so, yeah, you come down to a construction cost of about $30 million. And this is all greenfield. And so we're looking at also including right-of-way acquisition for the properties in that area. And then you talk about escalation, the cost of going to construction next year. And then to talk about project timeline, so looking toward a 60% design to develop to kind of really iron out the limits of the bridge. And and if there's further reductions of how we're managing to the intersections, and they look at minimizing the grading. Looking at construction costs or construction start time around the summer of next year. This is a tentative schedule, I should add. And then ending off in 2027. Yeah. If there's any question, I guess there's a few, design considerations. I didn't actually include this in the slide that I kind of wanted to open up to council to kind of weigh in on. To look at ways to further mitigate the cost of the construction. One point is with maybe doing some traffic analysis of the intersections, maybe specifically with the intersection at New Hope Road. If we're specifically with the pavement, if we're doing analysis of the traffic analysis, so city standards, 8-inch concrete over 10-inch subgrade. If your traffic analysis projections, you're looking to need, say a smaller pavement thickness, maybe 7 inches, that can help kind of shave a little bit of the cost down. Similarly, if you're looking at maybe widening the intersection at Kennedy Parkway, doing traffic analysis of, are we looking at additional turn lanes or how we allocating the lanes? So if we put a signal there, if you're looking at future expansion of the intersection, putting the traffic signal poles in locations that won't need to be relocated in the future. And that was just kind of some initial thoughts on some aspects to add to the design.
So Sydney, quick question for you. On the schedule, it said 100% design April 24, 2026. Is that for phase 1 and phase 2 or just phase 1?
That's just phase 1.
Okay. And then since you mentioned the intersection of the Parkway, what is the design? Do you have an idea of what the design will be now for the turn lanes? Because we don't want to create a choke point there also.
Sure. So specifically at the Kennedy Parkway intersection, that's also part of the discussion. So currently that little stub that's on Kennedy Parkway on the south side of Louisville Road is only 3 lanes. And so the discussion is, if we're going for a 4-lane section, kind of necking that down to 3 lanes, or is that expanding that to a 4-lane section at the intersection? Similarly for the roundabout, we could essentially, because New Hope Road currently is just 2 lanes. I know there's future expansion to go to 4 lanes in the future, but in an interim situation, we're transitioning from 4 lanes down to 2 lanes at the intersection, and that'll help. Or maybe look for a smaller roundabout at the intersection to keep bringing that cost down.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a quick one. How's the train company feel about the right-of-way of this all?
Yeah, I guess the upside is that we're looking at a grade separated crossing. So they're fully on board with that. That actually brings me to a good point. So one of the other discussions about maybe looking at other funding sources for the project, and I would say that Union Pacific is behind us, but the catch is that they would look for us to close existing crossing. I know there's currently 3 existing crossings on the south side of Kennedy Parkway. I think the one at North Road, Abbott Road, and then New Hope Road. So it's really not, as far as I see it, it's able to close any of those. One discussion we're having with COG is they have records of railroad crossing closures they've done over time. And so we could look at, especially these funding opportunities, can we leverage that? Instead of maybe the city of Kennedy closing a railroad crossing, can we look at COG closing or having closed railroad crossings and advocate for that for us to get additional funding from US DOT or federal funding?
Anybody have any more questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Next line of business is going to be regular session. It's going to be election business. Take action on acceptance of the certification to the mayor and council of the official returns of the June 7th, 2024. That should be 2025, right? City of Kennedy general election. Sorry, I'm reading my agenda. And this is an action required.
In your packet, you should have received the certification of the election. I did have to update it. I got the certification in yesterday. So the official totals are, total number of votes for Amanda Hollins, 184, and the total for Kenneth Michaels is 250, which gives Mr. Michaels 57.60% of the vote. And we do need action to move forward.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the election results for June 7th, 2025.
I'll second.
I got a motion on the floor by Councilman Navarro, seconded by Councilman Glover. Any further discussion? Let's vote by raising your hands. Huh? Yea or nay? Sorry.
All those in favor, could you
All
raise
those
your
in
hands,
favor?
please?
Motion carries. Okay, next line of business. Oh, look, the date's right on this one. Take action on the City of Kennedale Ordinance 784, an ordinance of the City of Kennedale certifying and canvassing the election results for the June 7th, 2025 runoff election.
This just makes what I just said official, just canvass those into the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 784.
I'll second.
Got a motion on the floor by Jeff Fanera, second by Councilwoman Colbuck. Let's bring it for a vote. All in favor? Motion carries. Next line of business is issuing certification of election statement of an elected official. The issue the oath of office to the city council member, place 3, Kenneth Michaels.
Mr. Michaels, if you would please raise your right hand and repeat after me. No, this is working.
It's working.
I, Kenneth Michaels,
I, Kenneth Michaels,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of office,
the duties of office,
City Council Place 3
City Council Place 3
of the City of Kennedale
of the City of Kennedale
and of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and
defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and of the state,
and of this state,
and the charter and ordinances of this city,
the charter and ordinance of this city.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Next line of business, taking action to appoint the mayor pro tem. Do we have any motions on the floor to elect a mayor or appoint a mayor pro tem?
Well, Mr. Mayor, unless you don't want the duties anymore, I see no reason to change the status quo.
I was about to say, do
That
you,
was a question, by the way.
yeah, I'll defer to the current mayor pro tem. Do you want us to discuss it more, or do you want it again? No. I make a motion to appoint Ken Michaels as Mayor Pro Tem.
I will second.
I have a motion on the floor to appoint Kenneth Michaels, Mayor Pro Tem by David Glover, second by Jeff Nerera. Any further discussion? Okay, asking for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Next line of business is a public hearing with action as necessary. Conduct a public hearing on PC case number 2507, proposed conditional use permits as required by section 24.2C of the Uniform Development Code for a battery energy storage system, a land use location at 509 South New Hope Road, Cannon EC Survey Abstract 378, Track 1EE and A1327, TRS 2B01 and 2B04 of the City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas, 76060. At this time, we'll open the public hearing at 6:08.
Mayor Pro Tem, I do have a few that have signed up to speak. Ms. Esmeralda Zuniga?
Hello, thank you for the time. I'm Esmeralda Zuniga, and I'm with Downwinders at Risk and the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. And we're here in support of the battery energy storage system. We think that it'll play a crucial role in modernizing the grid, and it will store excess energy when production exceeds demand and release it when needed, improving the grid stability and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. We also believe that it would benefit the city of Kennedale with $6.9 million in additional tax revenue for the city, and during life of the project, millions of tax revenue for the schools. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stephanie Yori?
Dear Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, City Manager, and City Secretary. Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Stephanie Yori, and I'm writing to express my support for the battery energy storage system in our city proposed by Cypress Creek Renewables. This project will bring significant tax revenue into our community, providing much-needed funds for street repairs, extra educational technology for our schools, and a ladder truck for our brave firefighters. This city's impressive school district was the inspiration and catalyst for our family's move to Kennedale. And we have supported our close-knit community in a variety of ways, from volunteering to working for our community. Kennedale's strength lies with its people. This, combined with our proximity to DFW Metroplex's major draws, makes us an attractive choice for families seeking a bright future. We're uniquely positioned for success. Cypress Creek Renewables' long-term partnership with Kennedale is poised to drive transformative growth, fostering a brighter future for our community. Their philanthropic efforts are already enriching our community through the local Rotary Club and educational scholarships. In conclusion, our partnership with Cypress Creek Renewables will not only enhance our community and benefit our residents, but also contribute to drive sustained growth and development. These initiatives will have positive, far-reaching impacts extending beyond local boundaries. Thank you again for your time, your consideration, and support of this project.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more comments? Sorry.
I do have one that has signed up and does not wish to speak but wants to be read into the record. Her name is Darlene Massaria. She is at 608 Fawn Meadow Trail, and she wishes to register her opinion and that she opposes the development. And I have no others.
Okay, at this time, we're going to close the public hearing at 6:13. Next line of business is to take action of the City of Kennedale Ordinance 785 to amend the Uniform Developing Code as described in PZ case number 2507 for the purpose of conditional use permits as required in section 24.2C of the Uniform Developing Code Battery Energy Storage System. A new land use located at 509 South New Hope Road, Track 1EE and A1327 TRS 2B01 and 2B04, Abstract 378 of the City of Kennedale, Tarrant County, Texas. Mr. Gonzalez?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, City Manager, and our award-winning City Secretary. Couldn't resist. At this time, I'd like to welcome the applicants here. They've prepared a presentation, and then afterward, I'm happy to come back up if that's okay and answer any questions that you have. So, thank you.
See if this will blow up. Fantastic. It's a little too much. Well, thank you all. I wanted to start out saying congrats to the incumbents who won their election. And furthermore, thank you to all of the city council members who over the last, more than a year now have been so giving of their time to, meet with us in person or, give their thoughts over email, phone calls, et cetera. I know that you all are busy. This is not your main job. The $1 salary for this job certainly wouldn't cut it on its own. So thank you guys for making time and coming with an open mind to this. And there's so many of those sort of questions and suggestions that we've taken into consideration. And hopefully we've brought answers to most, if not all of them by now. But that's what I want to use the rest of our session today to talk about is any kind of open-ended questions that may come up. We've got a panel of experts here between sort of, our engineering experts. We've got our third-party sort of safety and response experts here from Fire Risk Alliance that have been working closely with the fire department over the past few months, as well as our third-party tax consultants from EY, one of the big four accounting firms that put together all of our tax models. And so hopefully if there's any questions about any of those, me or one of our experts can help handle that. I'll give, a brief overview since, all of you've heard this before, but a little refresher never hurts. About Cypress Creek has been, in business over 10 years now. We've done projects all across the country, have a pretty robust operating portfolio that we've not only developed, but still continue to own and operate in our fleet. including, an exceptional safety record over that time. A little bit about this project, reminder that this is located actually on the same parcel that we just heard from Friesen and Nichols about. We worked with them last year. We had originally had this project sited at the north end of this project, right where you see that red line of the Little School Road extension coming through. And so we worked with them, worked with the city to say, all right, if we really want the road to come through here, which is important for the continued development of the city, where can we locate the project that is, still safe, still makes sense for development, but makes room for this road? And so we've located, further to the south, and we actually think that, this can pair really well with the road for a couple of different reasons. One is, I might be jumping ahead, but one is, the cost that we see for building this road, actually, like was just quoted, is, up $30+ million, not to mention the acquisition of right-of-way, which they quoted at, around $2.5 million. And we think that the tax benefits to the city can really help drive, be put towards that development, helping to drive the growth and the development of Kennedale, sort of connect east to west. But then also the landowner has graciously agreed that, if this project goes through, he's willing to donate the right-of-way to the city free of charge. So that would really help to bring down the cost of this project. Now, we've seen, a lot of questions about why here. Does it make sense to go here? Does it make sense to go elsewhere? And one of the biggest things that we see is the continued load growth, the sort of energy usage, not only in the Fort Worth metro area, but across Texas. And we've seen multiple instances just this past winter in February. We had a big cold snap. It was down in the teens here. It was down below freezing in Houston and Austin. And Texas once again hit a peak, setting new records constantly for the amount of load or the electricity demand on the grid. And the grid operators, ERCOT, has continuously said that the addition of these battery systems is what's integral to making sure that we don't get rolling blackouts and we don't get another disaster that we saw, a few years ago when people were without power for weeks. And so hopefully what we can do with this project is really, reimburse the sort of strength of the grid, really help to strengthen it so that we're not falling behind in those really hot months in the summer and those really cold snaps in the winter here. One thing, and I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit here, so we can talk a little bit about all the major community benefits that we think we're bringing to the city. We'll start with one of the main concerns, which is safety and emergency services. And so it's something that we deal with questions with all the time. We work very closely with fire departments to make sure that we're all on the same page about how to move forward in the event of an emergency. Obviously, we think that there's, very little chance of an emergency, but good to be prepared nonetheless. And so we start that off with training before the project even goes operational. We bring in our third-party experts that do this for a living to train the firefighters and any sort of surrounding municipalities' firefighters as well on the best way to handle incidents should they occur. And that training happens not only before the project goes live, but annually thereafter. We know that there's turnover, there's always new people coming in, coming out of the service, and so we want to make sure that everyone is as up to date as possible. Additionally, we know that it takes time to do that training, it takes effort. This is, something else that they're going to have to monitor, and so in recognition of that, if the project goes forward, we're making a $75,000 donation to the fire department, which will, definitely not fully buy their new ladder truck, but certainly get them part of the way there and help along the way, along with helping to outfit the new station that they're moving into. Additionally, there's an emergency bond that we want to place with the city. We are pretty confident that it'll never come into play, never get drawn upon, but we want to have that to make sure that the city feels safe. Obviously, we carry pretty hefty insurance, usually in the range of $15 to $20 million of coverage for any effects that might happen, given any of our projects. And I'm proud to say that we have never had to use that insurance, but we have it there nonetheless. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. Like I mentioned before, there are benefits for the Little School Road project, both with the tax funding as well as the right-of-way dedication. We can try to drive that cost down as much as possible here. And then just to speak to property taxes in general, we've got $20 million expected to be generated from property taxes over the course of the life of this project. And we have our experts here. You've all been provided the tax model that our tax experts from EY put together. And they're here today if there are any questions that you haven't voiced to us yet. But in addition to being a pretty large amount of taxes, it's also just an extremely efficient use of land. We see 300 plus homes worth of tax property value coming in the space of just 10 acres. So it's hard to find better bang for your buck out there. And when we're talking about, wanting Kennedale to be sort of open for business and development and growth, this is a great way to sort of springboard along that journey. I've already talked a little bit about grid reliability, avoiding blackouts, getting sort of stable pricing so we get less volatility for those customers who live locally. And like was mentioned before, we're also committed to be long-term community partners. We've already started that with running a scholarship program. We gave out a scholarship to a local high school senior this year. We've donated to the Rotary Club. We've joined the Chamber of Commerce and have actively been supporting them, as well as donating to the Kennedale Educational Foundation. We kind of like Atmos Energy, one of our big things is education. We want to help the kids and we want to start it as early as possible. And so that's what we always push for, to be good community partners. We start with education because that's really the foundation of our communities, is the children in those communities. And then finally, the economic uplift that this will provide. Let's set aside taxes that will come into the city. During construction, we bring in, we bring in construction crews. We hire locally as much as we can for that skilled labor, create construction jobs. And then, of course, over the course of the full construction period, those folks will be, spending sort of on our dime at the local businesses, the local restaurants, the local shops, and hopefully provide some extra economic uplift to the community there. So we think that there's, innumerable sort of benefits that can come to the community from this project, which takes up a pretty small piece of land here. To the point of the actual zoning request, as you may remember, this project is already zoned industrial. It's got an existing substation to the north, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by industrial parcels. So we think that this is absolutely one of the best places to build this. There's already a sort of weak spot in the grid here. That's why we're targeting it. And we want to kind of make the grid as robust as possible. And the fact that this is already zoned industrial is just, icing on the cake. It's envisioned as the perfect space for this type of project. I know that a couple of you have had the chance to go out to one of our other facilities down in Rosenberg outside of Houston. I know that not all of you were able to make it, but we wanted to make sure that that was at least available to you guys if you had the availability. You can see that it is pretty low profile. You've got sort of this vegetative screen is like what we like to say, this sort of, plants, shrubs, trees all around. A lot of it is already existing in this parcel, which is great, but anything that is not, we intend to sort of plant and propagate so that nothing can be seen from anywhere outside the bounds of the project. And it's pretty low profile. All of the trees existing in this area are, in the range of 40 to 60 feet high, and our batteries stand somewhere in the 8 to 12 feet high range. So it's a pretty unobtrusive project right from the outset. I know that there have been a lot of questions on safety. That's been one of the big questions. And I know you've heard this sort of spiel before, but I'll quickly recap it again. And then if there's any questions, either our engineers or our safety experts can jump in and help explain anything that I don't already have the answer to. We've got sort of thrice redundant controls in all of these batteries, from electrical controls to physical controls. We've got all sorts of detectors in here. This is all monitored 24/7, 365 from our national operating center, where we monitor all of these. Luckily for us, they are experts at what they do. You should see their room. It looks like NASA Mission Control with all of the screens that they've got up. And before anything could get to a sort of dangerous state, we have several layers of sort of safety buffer built in. If anything looks like it's getting slightly out of whack, whether that's any gas detection, parts per million, whether that's temperature, we shut it off well before it gets to a dangerous range. Shut down the whole battery, disconnect electrically from the grid to make sure that we isolate it. And then we have our techs that are frequently out on site. We send them out to get out there right away to make sure that we can figure out what's going on. Of course, if these sort of thrice to 4 times redundancies were to fail, we think that's very unlikely, but we have plans in place for that nonetheless. We've got our third-party response kind of safety experts that have been working with the fire department. If you want to hear from Chief Peterson, we've been working closely with him on the best way to deal with an incident in the unlikely event that it does happen. We've done plume studies that look at, in a worst case scenario, what could happen if there were off-gassing. Where does that plume go? We see that in the worst of worst case scenarios, it dissipates by about 35 to 40 feet away from the incident, and so it stays well within the project boundaries. And in any case, the common knowledge, common wisdom for these incidents are to not put anyone sort of into harm's way. We want to stay outside, just secure a perimeter, and make sure that no one's going in. The batteries burn themselves out. We don't want to put water on them. That's the last thing that we want to do with batteries. I think seems like common sense, but if you Google battery fires, unfortunately, you'll see some pretty large incidents. I know that we provided everyone on council with a sort of information about a really large one that made the news in California, and how there's several things that went wrong with that one, and several times where the sort of common wisdom kind of failed them when they were setting that up. And so we describe in those case studies that we provided to you, the number of reasons why this project is extremely different than those. And if you have more questions about that, we're happy to talk through that here today as well. I already mentioned the tax benefits that we see. $11 million to the school district, $7 million to the city. Obviously, if there's some sort of negotiation or deal that the city wants to to make in order to try to see if there's a way to front load these taxes or to make sure that these taxes flow back into this specific area for development through a TERS agreement or something of that sort. We're very willing to work with the city to make sure that that happens. We want to be good long-term community partners, and part of that is coming with open minds to the table. And so that's why I want to thank all of you for coming with open minds, and we wanted to reciprocate and say that if there's any way that we can help the city in any of this, I think that there's plenty of opportunities here to find a win-win. And again, if there's any questions about these numbers, you've all been provided with the model that was how this was built out. And we have our experts here from EY to talk through any questions that you might have on that. And finally, we touched on this already, but we really want to be continual long-term partners. In any community we go into, the scholarship programs, don't stop as soon as you give us the permit and then you never hear from us again. We're not those kind of developers. We've sort of built a reputation on being responsible and doing it the right way. And there's a lot of sort of folks out there that aren't going to do that, aren't going to come and with an open ear listening and trying to build up the community around them. But we truly see all of our projects as partnerships. You're welcoming us into the community, and we want to be good neighbors in return. And so this sort of continual community engagement, helping out where we can, whether that's education, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's emergency services, these are all big things that matter to us, and we know they matter to you. And so we want to help out as much as we can there. I'll open it up to any questions. Like I said, we've got a panel of experts. If there's anything that I can't answer, feel free to ask anyway. We'll get them up, or we'll get sort of the city staff up here to answer any questions that you might have.
I got about 3 questions. When these things are mounted, you said that they're going to either build on slabs or pier. What are you projecting for this one?
For this one, my understanding is that I'll call Aniket up. He's our engineer. I don't want to speak out of turn. So he's the engineering expert.
Thank you. Thanks, Ethan. Thank you, sir, for the question. So yeah, as you said, we are going to have slabs on which this battery containers are going to be mounted, if that's what you're asking, sir.
It's going to be on a slab?
Yeah, it's on this.
And then my other question is we're fixing to redo New Hope Road. Are y'all going to fix any damages that happen when y'all start moving this equipment in?
Yes, sir. That's part of our sort of agreements as, when we start construction anywhere, is that, we sort of either we will handle the repairs ourselves, or we, offer it up to the city to contract that out and reimburse the city.
Okay, one more question. When these batteries fail, you were talking about gas monitoring. What type of gas does it put out?
Thank you. Thank you for that question again. So all the off-gas mixture and the reports that we have had with the batteries, it basically says that almost 46% of the off-gas mixture that generally comes out if the cell goes into thermal runaway. And I know it's not the part of the question, but I still would like to, kind of point out the fact that that's very, very rare phenomena to happen. But even if that happens, the off-gas mixture has 46% hydrogen, and other rest are just hydrocarbons, basically. There are no toxic chemicals like any toxic chemicals like HF or something else that comes out in NMC chemistry of the batteries. So we have had various reports, like there are standards in place for battery chemistry, which are UL 9540A, and it does say that it does give the whole off-gas mixture that comes out, and that's the composition, which I said. We can send the reports.
Yeah, I think previously we had provided the plume studies, is what we call it, but I'm happy to send that along again. I think there's.
Yeah, you've done the studies, but you didn't say what type of gas that it produces when it fails. And hydrogen, as far as I know, is extremely flammable. I mean, it has an ignition point higher than gasoline. So how do we know these things are not going to explode?
So there is one limit which is called LFL, which is lower flammability limit. So that's like, let's say we have no spark, okay, we have no ignition, we have no spark, yet a certain concentration of gas, if it's there, it can be flammable. That is called LFL. The Plume study and the UL 9540A report that we did for these batteries, and they have gone above and beyond what the standard is. But those reports, at least those two reports, mention this very clearly, sir, that the off-gas mixture that comes out, it has 8% LFL limit. All the battery standards provide us up to 25% LFL. They feel as long as it's under 25% LFL, the lower flammability limit, it's safe. There's no problem. It's all good. These batteries, if they fail, it's like 8.6% LFL, somewhere around that. So even if the gas mixture comes out, it by no chance is gonna catch fire, basically.
Okay, hydrogen can ignite by just a static spark.
Sorry?
That's good. I have no more questions.
I have a question. I believe you said something about if something concerning was to happen, that there would be tech experts who would arrive at the scene to assist with that. On average, what is the turnaround time from when an incident is detected to when those tech experts arrive?
Yes, ma'am. So we've been lucky enough to never have to deal with that, never have an incident. All of our techs for our battery projects are located within 1 hour of the project. Luckily, and so, they would be able to, if anything were off, sort of off kilter, anything, we detect anything, we automatically shut it off, and they would be able to, before it gets to a dangerous point, and they'd be able to be there at the site in under an hour.
So in that theoretical hour, what could happen?
Well, ideally, if, we are shutting it down, de-energizing it, disconnecting from the grid, so there's no electrons flowing any which way anymore. But usually what we have in place is an agreement that says, when we shut it down, we not only will send a tech out there, but we can alert the local officials, the local emergency responders, whether that's fire, EMT, police, so they can be aware. And we work with them to see if they want to go up and set what they call a fire watch, to go out there and say, we've disconnected it before we think anything dangerous was going to happen. We'll have someone on site in under an hour. But if you guys feel more comfortable, you can go have someone out there just to check it out, to watch. If you see, obviously, any smoke, which would be the worst case scenario, that's when all of our alarms would continue going off. We would both contact our third-party response as well as the local emergency responders. And so those are the folks that have worked together, that have set up the plan, that conduct those annual trainings, and they've got a plan for how to respond in those incidents.
I would just like to add a thing on that. I mean, yeah, we are talking about the worst case scenario, but just to alleviate that concern, I just want to put this out that the cells generally here would only go into the thermal runaway that we are talking about, the worst case scenario, above like 200 to 30 degrees Celsius. And as soon as they go above 50, even a little above 50 degrees Celsius, that sends a red signal to the 24/7 control center we have, and that shuts that whole battery, the whole pack down. So there's a big kind of measure that we have there, good almost 5 times measure that we have there. And on top of that, these batteries, the battery manufacturers basically did a, kind of test to put a flame on that, because they were like, it's not going to catch flame, it's not catching flame, so what do we do? So they put a flame and they externally heated it so much so that a flame can emerge, and that too took more than an hour when they had like 14 heaters heating the battery. So even if something goes wrong in the cell on the working, we have different measures, step measures in place which would not let that happen.
So you've mentioned a couple of times in your slides that you have quite a few projects and you've been in business for about 10 years. How many battery projects do you have, though?
For our standalone battery projects, we've got somewhere between 5 and 10, I believe. I don't cover the whole country, but for the same technology of batteries, they are very consistently added to the other solar projects that the company has built. So, somewhere in the range of, I would guess, 100, and never any incidents with those batteries.
Okay. I've got one more thing to read at the end here, but I'll let y'all continue the discussion.
Sure. I'll do the follow-up, Mr. Mayor. You were just mentioning how you have 100 locations, but that's not just one battery. Of those 100 locations, you have 10,000 batteries, correct?
Yeah, each of these sort of enclosures of batteries holds, 5,000 different battery cells. So there's, on the order of, hundreds of thousands, if not, millions of battery cells that we operate all the time. We're constantly monitoring them and constantly upgrading them. As these batteries see use, kind of like the batteries in our cell phones, they degrade over time. They can't hold quite as much energy. And so over time, we plan to replace them, to sort of upgrade them so they can hold as much charge as they should. And as time goes along and technology emerges, we are constantly staying at the forefront of all of those sort of technology discussions, all those testing, et cetera. And so, we have people that sit on, the board of the UL Underwriters Laboratory testing on the sort of fire codes at the national level to make sure that we are not only complying with what is required of us, but taking those next steps, upgrading to the safest possible batteries that we can, and making sure that we are setting a good example for the industry, and the industry kind of follows us in that way to, taking that next step of not just what is required, but what is the right thing to do.
So let's talk about let's talk about the battery a little bit. It's lithium ion, but it's your own little combination of nickel metal hydride, maybe some cobalt, but it's a little bit safer, stable, or than, let's say, compared to our iPhones or Samsung batteries, correct?
Yes, sir. That's one of the big differences that you see when you look at some of the big flashy news stories that you see, is that all of those are what's seen here is NMC, nickel, manganese, and cobalt. But we run these LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries. These are, as you can see from the sort of safety ratings on the bottom, these are much safer. They have a much higher operating range. Like Aniket said, this is good up to 270 degrees Celsius. We cut it off at 50. But these nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries are the ones that can kind of build on each other. That's how you get really, really bad scenarios. We've moved away from that as an industry. NMC batteries are much more energy dense, and so it would absolutely be economically better for us if we could, put them here. But economics are sort of not the main concern here. Safety is the main concern. We want to help the community, and part of that is not endangering the lives of the residents. And so we take something that is a little less energy dense, technically, not as efficient energy-wise, but much better from a safety standpoint.
Would you say it's more safer than, let's say, a Tesla battery? which we're finding in our homes more and more nowadays?
Yes, the most Tesla batteries out there are of this nickel manganese cobalt variety. And so that's, people have those in their cars, in their homes, and to the credit of those NMC batteries, they very rarely fail. But when they do, it's not fun. That's why we run these LFP batteries, because they are even safer than the sort of batteries that people have already accepted into their everyday lives.
And I commend you guys for your focus on safety on this. You compared the incident in California. There was some mistakes made, basically. What makes Cypress different than these startups, like for the startup over in Lubbock right now, I believe, or Amarillo, I think it is, and this California company, and the one in New Mexico, and the one, I believe, that was in Norway or Finland or something like that. What makes Cypress different? Why are people following your lead?
You want to say something?
For the starters, basically, it's definitely the battery chemistry that we are using. A lot of these news that you see, as Ethan said, are generally NMC batteries, and as he said, it is very energy dense, and when it goes bad, a lot of energy is released, which is not the case in LFP. Second of all, the measures that we have taken and the standards that we follow, we go above and beyond of all the standards that the industry needs. Like the battery industry needs just 2 or 3 standards with UL and NFPA rules, but we have gone above and beyond that to test as to what would happen even in the worst to worst case scenarios. So that's one more thing that sets us apart. On top of that, we have been following, basically learning, the industry is learning. We have learned a lot from past instances, and we have tried to keep it as safe as we can. For example, the Moss Landing that you might be basically referring to here, there was inside a building room. So if the gas release, if the off gases are there, they all get concentrated inside a room, and the pressure increases and things go bad. But we are in the open with not, that not happening, basically.
And to add to that, I think one of the big things that Cypress Creek prides itself on is being a responsible developer. We've been in business for a long time now. A lot of the startups are trying to make a name for themselves. There's a lot of flip shops, we call them, that sort of get halfway through developing a project and then try to sell it for a profit. That's not what we do. We intend to own and operate and be in the communities, and that's why we're so invested in doing this the right way. We're not trying to make a quick buck. That's why we don't take the cheaper route with the batteries. If we're going to be part and parcel of this community for the next 20 plus years, that means we're responsible for that community, just like all of you guys have stepped up to be responsible for the community as the city council. And so we take that super seriously, and we know that we have a reputation to uphold. We always want to do business the right way. And so that's really what is setting us apart from those other companies.
And you said a moment ago you were going to replace worn-down batteries. Let's say 2 years. It takes 2 years to get a worn-down battery. But as your technology progresses, because that's progressing pretty fast, I assume, you will replace also the technology that we have here?
Yes, there are already plans as these batteries, lose their ability to hold charge to replace them. But we also want to upgrade where possible. Now, obviously, anything that we put into our systems will have to go through extensive testing, just like these batteries, these LFP batteries have gone through extensive testing. But as soon as we feel good about sort of repping to the community that I'm willing to have this in my backyard, so you should too, then that's when we'll upgrade to those newer technologies.
And then obviously, you keep saying 25 plus years, but potentially you guys would be looking into other avenues of energy storage or creation. So this could potentially be property in the future for, let's say, a solar panel that can do 50% retention on energy. So you're not just looking to run and gun in 25 years, correct?
No, the goal, would be that this becomes a very integral part of the electric grid and helps support that local grid, making sure that price volatility stays down and that there's no rolling blackouts or brownouts. And so decommissioning after 20 years is absolutely possible, and that's up to the city, that's up to the landowner, if they're still willing to have us. But we would, always be looking at, ways that we can continue to help the community. And what the technology looks like in 20 years is anyone's guess. We hope that it's a lot better. It's certainly going at that exponential rate. And so it's, it's up to any dreamer to decide what is possible 20 years from now.
And then if we pass it today, what's your timeline on the project itself?
Yeah, if we do pass it today, the timeline looks like construction starting mid-2026. Right now, we're targeting the sort of April-May timeframe. Obviously, that could shift a couple months forward or backwards, but that is the sort of goal right now, is to have that construction start in April of next year. Have about 12 months of construction, about 2 or 3 months of testing with ERCOT and with Oncor. So we're looking at late 2027 when the project would fully come online.
So you mentioned the fire at Moss Landing, and you've also mentioned that you use lithium ion. So I know that's not your plant, but they also use lithium batteries, correct?
Yes, sir. The sort of both of these are lithium batteries. It's just the sort of other part that's in there besides lithium that makes up, that's what's shown here.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, at this time, would you mind if I read a resolution from the Republican Party of Texas? It's short.
Please, go ahead.
Thanks, sir. So while I was doing research on this again, and trying to come back to this with an open mind, I came across an interesting resolution that was published on March 28th, 2025. It's from the Republican Party of Texas, and it states, "Resolution to protect Texas counties from the rapid expansion of battery energy storage systems, otherwise known as BESS. Whereas more than 1,000 battery energy storage system plants are in production and development or in planning stages throughout Texas. And whereas the BESS plants, due to their rapid expansion, have few accepted industry safety standards. And whereas energy companies, including many foreign-owned companies, are targeting unincorporated rural counties with low populations. And whereas many of these BESS plants are owned or operated by foreign entities whose interests may not be aligned with those of Texas, that either purchase or lease personal property and pose a potential security risk. And whereas the proximity of BESS plants to residential areas may cause significant safety concerns for residents and severe loss in property values. And whereas many rural Texas counties are not equipped and are inadequately funded to be able to protect against these risks. And whereas these lithium battery systems with known volatile risk contain software that is susceptible to cyber terrorist attacks from foreign adversaries that could result in the destruction of our power grid, explosions, runway fires, exposure to toxic gases, environmental contamination, destruction of personal property, loss of property values, and loss of life. And whereas State Representative Ellen Troxclair has filed HB 1343, and State Representative Wesley Verdell has filed HB 1378. Both bills relate to the regulation of energy storage in Texas. And whereas SB 819 is a bill relating to renewable energy generation facilities, authorizing fees, and amending Chapter 35 Utility Code. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Republican Party of Texas formally requests the Texas Legislature pass HB 1343, HB 1378, and SB 19 to protect the citizens of our 254 Texas counties from the many dangers associated with the battery energy storage systems. Sorry, I know it's a mouthful. And just one other note I'll make on that too is one interesting item is HB 1378 would restrict any battery storage system to within 500 yards of a real property owned by a real person, or they have to get a exemption in writing. So I know there's a lot of, we'll call it fear mongering in that. There's a lot of scary words, but some of it's not untrue either. And so I'm not saying your company is the poster child for what this is written for, but I think it's interesting that we have technology that is ahead of the legislature now. And so this technology and this system is very new, and now the state and the government is trying to catch up to you to help kind of put some guardrails on that. So I'll let you respond to that in any way you want to, or not at all. Again, it wasn't an attack at you guys. I just found it, and I wanted to share it with council.
Yeah, I'll agree that technology is ahead of legislature. I would say that unfortunately that's always kind of the case. A lot of technology moves really fast and legislature unfortunately doesn't. We're still, legislating, the internet under rules that were written, in the 90s before the internet was really widespread. And so it's a great point. And it's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is being involved in those sort of regulation discussions. We know that we want to do things the right way, and we know that any company that doesn't and has an incident paints us in a really bad light. And so we work with lawmakers to try to get regulation on all of this instituted. I'll give you one example of something that came up in the Texas legislature this session was about battery decommissioning and decommissioning bonds. There's a worry that a lot of companies will either walk away or go bankrupt or whatever it is, and the landowner, county, city will be stuck footing the bill for a defunct project, and they have to spend who knows how much money to decommission that, to take it down, to restore that land to its previous use. Now, the legislature has had a long-standing policy on solar, for example, laying out exactly, what sort of bond must be placed with the landowner. A decommissioning bond, it dictates at what years, at what amount, that it has to be updated every 5 years, et cetera. And that legislature was introduced this year in this legislative session. And we were strong that legislature was introduced this session for batteries. And we were strong proponents of it. We were in Austin during the whole session saying, yes, this is smart, because the folks that aren't already agreeing to this and aren't already doing this are giving everyone else a bad name. And so that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on, is really helping legislature catch up to technology as much as we can. Because, like I said, we want to be responsible. We take pride in setting the best example that we can, and we think everyone else should be following that example.
Do we have any more questions?
I do have a few, please. Y'all probably know where these are coming, so I would assume, sir, are you from the company that's local, that's going to be the first responder type company that's going to be local? So like if Chief Peterson or one of the captains call and say, hey, we've got an issue, or be monitoring, your company would be one of the responders, the specialty people?
Yes, sir. That's
okay.
correct.
What's your response time? Let's say if Chief Peterson or one of his captains or lieutenants say, hey, we've got an issue over here, I need you to come out. How quick can you be there? Or your company be there?
Sir, that's a great question. And I want to get back to the young lady you had asked, response time. The hour is for their technicians. I've had conversations, and our company has had conversations with the chief.
Okay.
We are a 15-minute window. So we have assets all over the country.
Okay.
I may not be able to be boots on the ground. Obviously, I'm from New Jersey, so I'm a little bit far away.
Correct.
However, I will be able to give a play-by-play to your chief, to your captain. We've had conversations. They're given an 8-step process on how to size up a scene. So we will monitor the situation with them remotely and give them guidance and direction within minutes on how to handle an event if there is one.
Okay. Now, Chief, not to compound up what he just said, do you feel like the training that him and through Cypress gives you, will you have the ability to take what measures are going to be?
That I've had with the Third Party Fire and Risk Alliance, First was a Zoom call
Okay,
where we discussed the response.
okay,
And I was told that they would be on the phone with me. So that's the first step that's happening. There's nobody in the DFW area that would respond as far as that third-party fire department.
okay,
But they're on the phone with me, consulting with what's going on and helping us through that situation. But it may actually be next day they come. Now, the other side of it, when it's a situation that the battery is not on fire or not sitting there smoldering, but we have a situation of a concern, and it's a fire watch type, that's where they would come in and we would go home. But again, it may be next day, the technician would arrive earlier, and that may be good enough. If it's not emitting any gases to where we have concern on life safety or any concerns of needing to evacuate an area, then they just take over and do fire watch.
okay. So have y'all spoken at all about, I'm sure as a fire guerrilla, the police do a certain round of, they'll do a certain pattern every day. They'll cover a certain area. They'll do drive-bys or whatever. About the fire department doing a daily or a semi-daily just drive-through of the thing. Make sure there's no sabotage from anybody breaking in that could cause a safety issue. I mean, I know you're going to have cameras, you're going to have security, stuff like that, but actually somebody for the city looking at that property on a regular basis.
It's not going to be our fire department going out there checking it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking.
Okay.
Of course, if we get a call,
Yeah.
a concern on it, we are going to respond.
Okay.
And I do feel confident that we are going to get the training, the emergency response plan. I know we'll get that. I've seen the
And some equipment too, y'all said, right? Some special equipment that handles it.
Yeah, I don't know what equipment they would be providing to us. We do carry a gas meter on our engine. So when we go out there, we'll be sampling the air. If we have that kind of situation going where there might be gases being released.
All right. I guess the other question I had, it doesn't do with I just want to know what the response times were going to be, was the bond. You talked about the $15 to $20 million bond. Now, I would assume that protects, I know you're going to have insurance on the property, insurance on your equipment, but what does the $15, $20 million cover?
Yeah, that covers, obviously, like you said, we carry insurance on our actual equipment, but this insurance that I was talking about is sort of emergency response and the sort of anything that could come from an emergency. That's what that covers. And so that would cover anything from paying any firefighters for any type of response for their time. If there's any equipment that they used that got dirty or ruined and had to be replaced, it would cover that. It would cover any sort of injuries that might happen, et cetera. And so it's sort of a pretty wide covering insurance. I'm sure that you can appreciate that as a company, we'd want to be covered from just about anything imaginable. So that's what that would cover.
Okay. All right.
Chief Peterson. So I have a gas well behind my house that's doing a lot of drilling right now. Do you have a plume study from that company as well? Do you have an emergency plan with the gas well companies in case something happens with them?
We do.
And I know they have some redundancies if there's a leak. Is there a lot of redundancies there, or if there's a leak, there's a leak?
To be honest with you, I haven't visited with those gas well companies that we have here in the city.
Sure.
Your question again on?
If you don't know, that's fine. I don't expect you to be an expert on gas wells. However, do you have the equipment that you need if there was an explosion or a gas leak over at the gas wells to address that situation?
Well, our equipment is just fire response equipment. We would, again, respond out there. We'd contact that gas well company In fact, we ran an incident just the other night.
Yes.
And it wasn't gas leaking, but it was just air coming from their compressor unit that people heard hissing. We went out to investigate. We called the company. They were there within 45 minutes. And then we turned it over to them. But we stood by until they got there on that scene.
Yes, that was very loud, by the way. So pretty much the same procedure as they have with you guys. It's pretty much similarly.
Yeah, of course, it's similar, but just a different type of hazard that could exist.
Matter of fact, you probably have other emergency plans for other places in town, like factories that use chemicals, the garbage heap, or Mount Trashmore, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Even the ammunitions place
We
over
do
by.
business inspections. We consult with them about what is their safety plan and share that with us.
I appreciate your answers. Thank you, Chief.
Sir.
At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session to consult with the city attorney under section 551.071.
Comments after listening. I'm Carl Griffith. I work with these guys. I served in the government for 30 years. I was a county judge in Jefferson County and the sheriff of Jefferson County. I want to make sure that everything's completely clear because we've seen similar incidents. We've been working for these guys for maybe a year and some other battery storage companies. And when cities have questions like response times, they usually enter in negotiations with our clients about what you would like to see as response time. And if they can't meet what you want, then you would not accept them into your community. We've been able to work with the cities and the fire departments and the police departments to get to the response time that they needed. And I haven't heard any of that discussion at this point. Secondly, hydrogen. The question about the hydrogen that you did, the NL, it needs to be at 25% to ignite. It's just like hydrogen is in water. So that's what he was telling you. It didn't ever get past 8% in this. I mean, I'm not here to argue, I'm just repeating what he said. Again, industry, we in our community, we were able to bring in about $28 billion of projects when I was judge. We doubled our tax base, and our residents only paid 20% of the tax base because 80% was paid by industry because we were able to bring them here. The Dallas Morning News and the Austin American Statesman have reported ERCOT and headline news that the only reason we didn't fail through the last 2 summers and winters was because battery storage. But you can welcome to pull those things up. And then I think the issues, if we may not have gone far enough in discussions with Cypress Creek. If you're just totally set against it, then you're set against it. But if there's some things that you think could be put in there to make it safer for your citizens, then I think if you would make a decision to only pass this if those things are met, then come back and make that discussion. And then any one of those bills you talked about, the ones that 500 yards, all those failed, the session's over. The things that were held battery storage companies responsible, we don't work for those fly-by-night battery companies just because of that. And those things that made it safer and gave regulations, the battery storage companies, the reputable ones, were up there testifying for those things because it doesn't give them a competitive advantage. I don't think it was clear. Yes, we don't have very many standalone battery storage, but the battery storage along with the solar panels do the same exact thing. And we have over hundreds of them. And we've been in business 11 years and not one time had a single fire from that. So I hope y'all, if there's things that you've got concerns about, you let your city manager negotiate what you guys come to a conclusion is that would be make you feel better about the project. and bring this $20 million of tax base, $23 million of tax base to your community over the next 20 years, because it'll help your residents not pay as much taxes and it'll protect them. Battery storage won't go anywhere where there's not a weak link in the battery system, which means the citizens are more apt to lose their power if they don't get battery storage in this community. That's why they're coming here, if you let them. Yeah, that's all. Mayor, thank you for letting me interrupt your council. Thank you.
At the request of the city manager, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Sure, I'm sorry, and I was processing what you said. For what reason, the executive session? Which one section?
Consultation with the city attorney on legal matters.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Mayor. I make
Yes,
a
sir.
motion to go.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? And all opposed? The motion passes unanimously. All right, it is 7:09 PM. We're going to go into executive session. All right, it's 7:25. We're going to go ahead and reconvene into regular session. I'm going to open up the floor again for any comments from our council. Any questions, comments?
I have one. So if your facility was approved, and if the worst-case scenario happened, what, if anything, would your company be able to provide to any of our residents who might have property damaged, be displaced? What, if anything, and how would that look?
I have a question for the city attorney on that then. Mr. City Attorney, can their insurance policy cover our citizens directly, or would that be our citizens going through their own insurance and then their insurance going back to their insurance through subrogation?
Generally be the latter.
So our citizens would actually file the claim on their own insurance. They would then go to your policy and say, your service damaged our claim holder. Now you have to refund us or reimburse us. Okay.
That's generally how it would work.
Other questions, comments?
I did have one question. You mentioned a bond a couple of times. Do you have a bond in place right now with any of your programs? No, that wasn't my question. Do you have a similar bond with any of your other projects in any of your other cities? Well, I don't know what the council's desire is, but if you're inclined to make a motion to approve this, I would make that motion subject to review of any bond that's being proposed.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Let's make a quick comment, Mr. Mayor. Like, just a reminder to Mr. Mayor, for all of us that, we denied this a year ago, but we had an immediate reaction from our shareholders in the community. Within 24 hours, I'm sure a lot of you got emails or phone calls to bring this back and give it another look. So I just wanted to remind us that, we've already been through this process before. I know my stance hasn't changed, but there was a response from the leadership around town that there was a desire for this to come here. I think they've proven within that time period of last year that they've been good community partners with us, and I think they would continue. I think I see due diligence on safety. We can talk about hypotheticals all day, and we have a lot of hypothetical situations all over this town in a 6x6 square mile that could happen, and that's why we hire the best of our firemen and our police to do a good job if those situations come up. So for me, my recommendation is to approve this. Thank you. Noted. Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions? Then I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the zoning change pending a review from our city attorney on several conditions, including the bond, the donations, and anything that was said in this presentation today, the right-of-way. Yes, thank you, Chris.
Do we have a second? The motion does die without a second. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to deny the ordinance 785 to amend the Unified Development Code.
I will second that.
All right, any further discussion? Then all in favor? And all opposed with the like sign? All right, Madam Secretary, the motion passes 3-2. All right, so it is 7:31. We're going to take a quick stretch break, and we'll be back 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. All right, it's 7:41. We're going to go ahead and reconvene.
Mr. Mayor, before we continue, just a little housekeeping. I just want to have Bobby Joe make the record show that you were present for the meeting. We didn't have like a transition there, basically.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
For the record, Mr. Horton came in at 6:22.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. So now we're going to move into our budget workshop for the City of Kennedale fiscal year 2025-2026 budget.
Good evening. The budget workshop this evening consists of a single item. And this is an item that different council members had recommended in the past. It is it's a program that would provide medical insurance to retirees. We have feedback from staff has indicated that there are really two marks that staff members look at. There's the 5-year mark where people vest in a 2-to-1 TMRS match, and there's another mark at 10 years where they could potentially start looking elsewhere to find a city or find an employer that would offer retiree health care. We feel that providing this option will help us retain employees, which will lower our cost while keeping skilled employees with local knowledge on staff. This will also give us a competitive advantage against potential employers that do not offer this benefit. There's stipulations on the plan. Service time is measured using only hours when an employee is eligible to receive medical insurance. Currently, this is measured by full-time employment. We do not offer insurance to part-time employees. The city will only cover the cost for the retired employee, so no spouse, no kids, only the employee. Coverage from the city ends in 2 circumstances, one of them permanent once an employee reaches or retiree reaches age 65. The other one could be temporary if a retiree is employed by someone who offers insurance. They would be ineligible for the city with the expectation that they would take insurance from their new employer. There's a chart that was attached to this. Assumptions on the chart, I mentioned city would only cover the cost for the retired employee. The cost of the city would increase 5% per year. The employee retires immediately when eligible, and retirees stay on the plan until age 65. So if we were to implement this, say, tomorrow, our cost, and those stipulations happen where we would have 2 people eligible that could retire, cost of the city would be just over $4,000. For budgeting purposes, again, using that 5% increase for FY26, the cost would be $12,751. Then 27 goes up to $20,000. It actually drops in 28 and 29 to $14,000. Then we see it go back up in 30. We do have it mapped out pretty confidently for the next 10 years. Just given the service time necessary, we feel pretty good about at least the number that are eligible. Obviously, cost of benefits can go up and down. We've seen that over the past few years here where we'll go flat and then increase and go flat. So the 5% might be a bit aggressive. I think that's a little high, but over time, that seems to be a good measure. And I'll stay for questions.
Questions, comments?
So this, you're admitting that this is just a projection, and that's the eligibility is even if these people remain in our employment, correct? So if 7 people quit, they wouldn't be eligible in 2035?
No, the stipulations are that people stay employed until they're eligible, then retire immediately. So the other side of that is if we have eligible employees that stay on, we would still be getting productive time out of them, and they wouldn't be on the retiree plan, they'd be on the employee plan. So we'd save money on the retiree plan.
So if everything's on track, this is the projection, and it's a safe projection.
I feel pretty good about these. They're probably a little high, at least for the next couple years. But we haven't met with our benefits provider really we've had some preliminary meetings, but we haven't locked a percentage increase down for FY26. So that part of it is an estimate. I feel pretty good about the eligible number.
And just for the record, if we pass this budget season, when will this go in effect?
That's your decision, not mine.
Okay. And October the 1st, thank you.
Saying it's for FY26, yes, but part of the estimate does provide an option of it being immediately available.
I just don't want to read about this later, that's all. And then currently, we only have 3 eligible one fireman, one city manager, and one police officer?
I am not going to discuss that
Okay.
because I don't feel it is appropriate to
To say
discuss
how old they are?
employment matters
Okay.
in open forum.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you.
I got one question. Would there be an option where this retired city employee can pay in for like dependents?
Not on this model. Something I could discuss with the benefits broker at our next meeting, but this model is only for the employee. It's a long way of me saying I really don't know.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was your question? Are you saying this is only for the employee, not for his family later on? Okay, okay.
Other questions, comments?
I guess just a quick one for you, Daryl. Like, I know this is unique, and when comparatively to other municipalities, do you think this is the edge up that we need to retain our good employees longer?
I think it's a great tool for that. I believe with the options that the city is currently providing to our organization is great. And I think this is one step that will help, hopefully, give longer tenure here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no more questions.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir. All right, so now we're going to move to our reports and announcements, and I can't recall who we started with last time, so I'm going to start with Councilman Navarez this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me get to my notes. I'm sorry. Here they are. Just a few things to point out for the last month for me. I went to that transportation conference last week held by the North Texas Transportation Authority. I had to sneak out a little bit early, but I came back to it. But a lot of discussion on the FIFA next year, and something that really didn't really click with me of all the discussions on it. I thought it was going to be like a 2-week scenario. It's a 45-day multi-nation or multi-continent, is what they're calling it, presentation. So it's just like the Olympics. And I would probably going to see if we can get the EDC and even us to see how Kennedale can benefit from this. 45 days is a lot of parties and restaurants and after parties and things like that. So maybe we can have the EDC promote Reds Roadhouse or something along those lines to generate some of these locations that are very necessary surrounding this particular event going on in DFW. I'm really excited about it. Obviously, I did the barbecue showdown. That was a big success. I know we had less than what we wanted, but as far as participation goes and community just even checking it out that day, I thought it was a big success, and congratulations to the city on putting that on again. Went to the Juneteenth parade and the festivities, and then right after, the Rotary Club had a Flag Day celebration, which was a huge hit. I think we had about 30 to 40 guests there, and managed to even just get people just walking up to come up and check out what the flag program was. Thank you for my time.
Councilman Gary?
I don't have anything this month, thank you.
Councilman Michaels?
I attended the barbecue showdown, and I think it was a pretty good turnout. We had a bigger group last year, but I mean, it's one of those deals. There's another event going on in another city, so they kind of took our cookies. I did attend the Tarrant County Transportation Summit, and that was a lot of good information that was shared from Tarrant County to Fort Worth to, with the FICA, with the golf or the soccer going on. And then I attended Miss Sargent's Juneteenth, 4th year celebration of Juneteenth in Kennedale. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Kobeck?
In the interest of time, I'll pass.
Councilman Glover?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it short as well. So I had the opportunity to judge the beans in the chili cook-off, and that was a good time. Couldn't say for the rest of it. I did make the tail end of the Juneteenth parade at Sonora Park. and was able to visit with the sergeant and some of the other attendees. And then a quick announcement on Monday, June 23rd, there will be a quarter auction at Dover Hall. And if you have questions, please reach out to our 2024 Community Leader winner, Lori Sanders. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, and this auction will benefit the Senior Center.
Thank you, sir. In the interest of time, just to echo what Councilman Navarro said about the World Cup coming. So there was a mayor's council discussion item on it, and basically we're going to be having 9 Super Bowl type events here in North Texas, and it would be great if we could find some way to reap the benefits of all that, because we're going to have just tons of people. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just get a couple of updates on our infrastructure that's taking place. Obviously, earlier this evening, we had updates from Freeze and Nichols dealing with our Little School Road project and our sewer interceptor from the racetrack to I-20. We also have a second sewer line that's coming in with this hillside. You'll start seeing that here pretty soon, probably in the next couple of months. They're about to wrap up the design factor and start the construction soon. Our water tanks are by the high school behind the football field. It's going as scheduled. Some of the rain has delayed that, but we still believe will be completed by the end of July. So that's another great task that we're getting completed. We have also started construction on Sweeney Hyatt. So if you live in that area, obviously you'll be seeing a lot of road construction equipment that's on the side of the road. We're projected to be about 2 months to get that completed. Once they're completed with that, they will move to New Hope Road. That is projected most likely 4 to 5 months from then. Then obviously Eden Road will start from there. I also like to add or end with, we do have a new human resource director, which is Danielle Clark. And I'll read this. We're pleased to welcome back Danielle Clark, who is rejoining the city as our human resource director. Danielle previously served as a director of HR and administrative services from 2018 to 2021. Before transitioning to the private sector, where she served as the Vice President of Human Resources, managing employee operations across the U.S. and Canada, Danielle is a SHRM CP certified and has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Texas at Arlington. She is committed to strengthening our workplace culture, supporting city staff, and fostering a meaningful engagement between the city and the community. So please welcome Danielle to our team. It's a great asset to have her here. Thank you, sir.
If I may, real quick on Sweeney Hyatt, I've gotten probably 100 questions. So I think it was supposed to start on June the 9th, June 8th, something like that. And so they've come and done some preliminary stuff. And I think with the weather, I think they're going to reconvene June 23rd. I think I saw that somewhere. Is that accurate? Just making an announcement because I've gotten like a dozen phone calls. Hey, I thought you said it was starting June 9th.
You're correct. It's delayed by a week, so we're going to start actual real construction on Monday. And just a thing again, we started the North Little School Road project on the 16th, this past Monday. So you're going to see construction in the North Road. So that's ongoing.
Thank you. Financial reports for the city.
All right. Looking at May, these results, that's 67% through the year, or 2/3 of the year. Just going down the summary, our property tax revenues were at 99.3% of our budget. This same time last year at 99.1%, so eerily close to last year. Sales tax revenues at 56.9% of budget. At this same time last year at 56.1%, so we're trending the same. And if you recall, last year we had more in sales tax receipts than we budgeted for, so I'm anticipating that again for FY25. Our general fund expenditures to date, 60.2%. The same time last year, 60.1%. So your department director, city manager, and award-winning city secretary are all doing a fine job of controlling the spending. Fund balance year to date, 181 days. of budget expenditures. The same time last year, we were at 110 days. Water, again, I'm just focusing on comparing to last year. Our sales, they say 50%. Last year, we were 54.4. Sewer at 61 compared to 66. Last year, we didn't have the delay that we have this year, and I didn't factor that in. So we're essentially on pace with our prior year. Same with our storm drainage fees, 68% was prior year, we're at 58.2, again with the delay. If you look at our expenditures, 66.7 current year to 69.2 last year. Then to our final one on the summary, the sales tax, 45.8%. Prior year, we were at 60%. So I'll look more into that. I believe we just haven't transferred in from our interlocal government sales tax that we get for Walmart. Rental fees at 71.9%, so that's tracking, although I did mention last month, and I do want to remind you all that we are going to start receiving $19,000 less per month in rent due to the Dollar General moving out of our facility and moving into their own. Our operations are at 49.9, town center expenditures 21.3, and our fund balance, we have 679 days of budgeted expenditures and transfers out. The same time last year, we were at 478 days. So we're able to grow our reserve in both the general and EDC funds. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to our consent agenda. Does anybody have any item that they might like to pull off?
Mr. Mayor, I had one item. Can we pull item number 3, City Connell Resolution number 636? I just had a quick question for Director Horton on that. I just wanted to get on the record.
Absolutely. Anybody else? All right, so if not, then I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda items 1, 2, and 4, and we will discuss 3 individually.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda 1, 2, and 4.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? And for the record, all opposed with the like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so item number 3, City of Kennedale, Resolution number 636, a resolution of the City Council adopting an amended City of Kennedale investment policy. Councilman Goldman?
Thank you, Mayor. Director Horton, one observation too. I think in the resolution, at least in the packet, it says, whereas on September 13th, 2021, should that be this year or is that backdated? I'll let you guys sort that out. I guess my question really was, where did this come from? And is there anything that's significantly in this that's going to change how the city invests its funds?
The Public Funds Investment Act requires me to take this in front of council every fiscal year. So regardless of changes, I still have to bring it to you every year. There are changes, what I put on the staff report, it's mostly some slight language change on like may to must be performed. It's really just changing standard language that was given on the referenced, whether most typically it's from the PFIA. External auditor may versus external auditor must. So it's a little bit more aggressive language on what the auditors are expected to do and what they're already doing. We just didn't have it in our policy the way that the PFIA wants us to, or the way the PFIA directs us to. As far as the overall policy change, there's really not a change. It's just a little bit of language change directed to our auditor. And then on section E, we added language around security risks and strategy risk, where we're supposed to consider those when making an investment, whereas prior to, we didn't have that language in our investment policy, but the PFIA requires it, so we needed an update there.
Okay. And so based on that, does that, would it change, in your mind, does that change our investment strategy for the city's funds?
I mean, we're already considering that, we just didn't have it written down.
All right, thank you. And I guess I'll ask the city attorney if he has any concerns with this or if you had a chance to review it. All good. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any other comments, questions? Then I will entertain a motion.
Let's see. Mayor, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 636, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Kennedale, Texas, adopting an amended investment policy.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so now we're going to move on to items for individual consideration, discussion, and/or action. And up first, discuss and take action to add stop signs to Pennsylvania Avenue at the intersection of Saratoga Lane, excuse me. Chief Holguin.
So you guys have had this report for a few days. I guess I want to start off, do you have any questions beforehand? A lot of this information is pretty dry, and try to cut to the chase.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Have we contacted the residents at 408 Pennsylvania to let them know that they're going to have a stop sign right there by their driveway?
No, sir, we have not. But they did sign the petition.
Okay, it's going to be a nightmare for them to get out of their house. So,
Chief Holguin, when you say they signed the petition, was that for or against the stop sign?
For some type of traffic control measure.
Okay.
So the way the petition was written and presented to me earlier this year, there was concerns about unsafe speeds, creating dangerous conditions for pedestrians, cyclists, children, and residents. The petition was titled, Petition to Slow Down Traffic on Pennsylvania Avenue, Kennedale, Texas. And the petition was signed by 26 residents from the Pennsylvania Oak Hill Park and Belmont Drive area. This incorporates 17 homes of the 26 petitioners. They requested adding speed bumps, humps, additional stop signs, and increasing police enforcement, reducing speed limits, and exploring other calming measures. They were one of the people that signed that actual petition.
So Chief, this is a three-way stop sign. Why Saratoga versus like Bell Oak or Belmont, which is kind of more in the middle, I guess?
It's a little closer to the center area where really you're gaining traction, gaining speed. There's really nothing to break up the speed until you get to that four-way intersection down the road closer to the Arlington city limits.
And so I guess the stop signs are the best way to slow down traffic, I guess, in this versus other measures.
Right, unless I think we've debated this. I haven't debated it, but I know it's come up before, discussions about speed bumps, speed humps, speed cushions, all the different acronyms, or not acronyms, but names that those are called. I know there's always discussion about emergency response times and how they affect that. I know this came up on steeplechase once before. So then we also talked about additional traffic enforcement. Now, we'll always do our best to get out there and run traffic as much as we possibly can, but of course, we are subject to call for service. So we do have to eventually clear. We also, it's been suggested also to reduce the speed limit for Pennsylvania. But if we already have people speeding at 30 miles per hour, I think we're just going to exacerbate the situation if we lower it to 25, we're just going to have more people speeding from 25 to 30. So the hope is, of course, whenever you add one of these traffic control signals, stop signs, that it does break up people having to stop, come to a full and complete stop, and then proceed further. Again, there's another intersection just up the road that has a four-way stop, so they'd have to stop again. So it does break up the travel from Bowman Springs all the way to where we are at the city limits at Arlington.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, what type of, excuse me, what type of stop sign are you putting there? Are you putting one of the lighted ones or just a regular, normal?
Yes, sir. We're recommending the lighting ones, the lighted ones, correct?
Okay. And do you think it'll be effective considering that even just right down the street on the corner of Pennsylvania and Little, people run that stop sign all the time? That's actually where one of your officers sit pretty frequently.
It'll help. It'll help. There's nothing that's going to guarantee that we're going to address the situation 100%, obviously, but, you know, it is going to be a traffic signal that people are supposed to stop at. I think majority of people will. You know, most people are compliant with traffic control. So, you know, I don't see where it definitely is going to help at least a certain percentage.
And know you pretty well. You did a traffic study on Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you love those. I know. I know you love those things. Have you found an increase in traffic there since the construction, for example?
As a
People
matter of
using it as a
fact,
bypass?
and it's in the report, and we attribute part of this, we did a study, the survey. Now, we have a permanent stalker sign in the 300 block of Pennsylvania that's always recording, always capturing data. So what we did is we pulled the information from April 30th to May 7th. And within that time period alone, we had 26,000 motorists that actually went through that area. Which is, I think, significantly higher than would be normally as a result of the construction. Now, unfortunately, don't have the stats prior to that sign being put up or anything, you know, pre this survey. So that's really just an educated assumption at this point. But I would see that when hopefully the construction on the service road is no longer there impeding traffic, I think they're going to stop cutting through Pennsylvania eventually.
Thank you.
Chief, with the stop signs, are we actually going to stripe it too?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay.
So, out of curiosity, Chief, since you mentioned the road humps, are those cheaper than stop signs?
No, sir.
No, more expensive?
Yes, sir. And then you have the maintenance and upkeep. You know, eventually, they start to deteriorate. Or even if you get there's like a plastic version, eventually they do start coming up and you have to go out there and fix those.
Well, I wonder if we think this will be a temporary problem, maybe a temporary solution would work, but I'm good either way.
Other questions, comments? Anything else?
All right, thank you.
Can we get approval to move forward with that?
I say, do you need a motion? Do we need a
We need a
motion or is
motion.
this just a discussion item?
Well, one is a traffic control device, which is obviously it's a recommendation from the police chief. In the same sense, the ordinance will need to be put in place. Is that correct?
Wait, you said an ordinance will be in place, but we're not presented with an ordinance today. You just want approval?
Yes, that's correct.
And then we're going to bring back an ordinance to approve?
I'm going to double check, but I think you just need to add, it's an amendment to your map. Maybe the chief can help me answer that question, but I think you've already got a stop sign map, don't you?
Oh, you're talking about our transportation plan?
Sure has.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
making things up.
It's our future land use stop sign plan?
In the past, we've had approval to move forward with a traffic control device.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the stop sign at Pennsylvania Avenue in the intersection, excuse me, of Saratoga Lane.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? And for the record, all opposed with the like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. All right, so I'm just going to read this out. At this time, going to request a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Section 551.071, consultation with counsel on legal matters,
Section 551.074, personnel matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Subsection A does not apply if the officer or employee who is the subject of the deliberation or hearing requests a public hearing. Section 551.072, deliberation regarding purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.073, deliberation regarding a prospective gift. Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiation. Section 551.089, deliberation regarding security devices or security audits and/or other matters as authorized under the Texas Government Code. We get a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to move into executive session.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
All in favor? And for the record, all opposed with a like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. It is 8:12, and we're going to move into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, I just want you to know that I'm shutting down this live, and we'll go back live after the executive session.